All right, well, welcome everybody. As you can see on the screen, I'm going to be running through a bunch of different covers and whatnot. We're going to be talking about the North American Wildlife Series. It's what came out as a sheet of 50 different animals. If you like animals, birds, insects, whatnot, this issue is for you. I collect the issue. It was one that after I got out of college, it was one of the first big things that came out. I love animals. I love wildlife. So it struck a chord to me. It did present some challenges to cover makers, and we'll be talking about some of those. By virtue of the size of the sheet, that is one of the initial areas. There were very few cachet makers that did a full sheet cover of this particular issue. And then other cachet makers chose to do different varieties, only certain animals, only birds, only insects, whatnot. So it did present options and challenges as well. So it was issued in 1987 at the Canadian International Philatelic Exposition. Exhibition. I mistyped up there, but this is showing the card that I was just talking about, and it shows the cancel that has the eagle and beaver, and both the 1978 Canadian goose and the 1987 Canadian goose. As you can see, this was issued in Toronto, Canada, issued on the first day of the exhibition, June 13th. None of you, I'm sure, have that calendar for June 13th, 1987, but that was a Saturday morning. And so that made it challenging for covers acquired or stamps acquired in Canada and taken to the US for postmarks for unofficials. And so we'll see examples of that. So these stamps, the 50 stamps, were designed by Chuck Ripper. He designed each of those, each with a North American wildlife. And when I converted this from my other format, it cut this down. He was known to design a large number of stamps. He, in addition to these, did a gazillion different other issues. An example of a cover, this one with the brown bear, is done by George Mullen, was autographed by Chuck Ripper. So just like any other cover that you might service, you can get autographs on those that relate to the stamp issue or the subject, the designer, the engraver, all those type of things. Now, if we recall, when we first saw the first slide, the sheet was 50 different animals. So the cover at the top up here, these two covers are also autographed by Chuck Ripper, the designer, but this upper cover is a Gilcraft cachet. It's a recreated block of 4. So if you're a collector of blocks of 4, typically with this issue, it'd be a block of 4 different animals, not 4 of the same animal. So this would have required 4 sheets to make a set with blocks of 4 of each of the animals. So it was a little time intensive. I didn't do that one. So we have 50 different animals. Mr. Ripper suggested 50 animals to be on as part of the set. He initially included the wild turkey, the mallard duck, the wood duck, and herring gull, and those were all axed from the sheet, and they were replaced with the broad-tailed hummingbird, the ladybug, the box turtle, and the mockingbird. And my understanding was the theory behind that was that these other birds, had already been represented on stamps multiple times before, and they were trying to have a variety of topics. So if you were a fan of a mallard duck and wanted to see that as part of the sheet, yeah, that just didn't happen. So getting into cancels, this issue for the first days did have some variety to it. Hopefully you can see these. There are machine cancels, there are hand cancels, there were show cancels. So the machine cancel, there were a couple of varieties of those. This one with the block of 4 on the left has the, in the die cast, it's June, Jun, for June. This one on the right is June. And they're not, it's not particularly scarce to find both varieties at all. The hand cancel, this one is with the Jun. We've got the show cancel that we saw earlier, typical round date type cancel. We've got the unofficial cancel, which I've never seen any covers for this issue with an unofficial cancel with the June 13th date. And so I just have in here unofficial cancel. And again, you know, a 9/15 ceremony on a Saturday in Toronto, Canada, and all those folks who serviced unofficial cancels at the time, I guess they didn't do it. If they did, I haven't seen them. But it would have taken a little bit extra manipulation to, you know, drive the stamps or move the stamps from Canada, find post offices open on a Saturday that were relevant, and get those serviced. The USPS did something different with this issue, and that was to have national park cancels in the US, and those were done on June the 15th, which again, the ceremony was June 13th, the Saturday. The next day is a Sunday. Post offices are closed. Monday is the 15th. That would be a first day of sale. And so there were 10 different national parks cancels, some of which had ceremonies as well. And I'm going to show you those. Those parks were Denali, Shenandoah, Acadia, Everglades, Grand Canyon, Isle Royale, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and I'm not going to pronounce Halekiala correctly, but trying, Grand Canyon. So the official policy for having a first day of sale postmark came out in 2008. Those cancels don't say first day of sale, but they were available as first day of sale, and so that kind of predates that 2008 day as kind of a a postmark for when the stamps were available in the US. Okay, so exposition or exhibition. These are different items. You've got the ticket to come in. You've got an opening day type thing. It's an international convention. Therefore, you had all sorts of different postal agencies represented there. They had their first day ceremonies at the show, putting out stamps. So it was a big to do, and I wasn't there. The U.S. Did a first day program. This is an example of the first day of sale program with a black bear, and this one was at Shenandoah Park in Virginia. So they just printed up. It's a very plain, simple type of paper leaflet, but that was available for cancellation. These programs that were given out at the show itself included 10 stamps. The program itself has room for 50 stamps. The reason for just including the 10 stamps is, hey, they wanted to sell the other 40 stamps, and not give away those that had the 50 stamps on them. So as far as the ceremony program, those with the 50 stamps are scarcer than the 10, because not everyone then took their program and affixed the other 40 stamps to it. So here's an example of one with signatures. And then I don't know how clearly it comes out, but then you've got cancels, like the Canadian ones over here as well. So not to be outdone, but the post office also had other products to sell. No surprise. So they had a little souvenir folder wherein they could cancel the stamp. I imagine they were for sale there. I don't know that for sure. We have commemorative pages with the cancels. We have the commemorative panel with the stamps. We have the souvenir cards. I forget what we call these exactly. This one has the US cancel and some Canadian stamps and a Canadian cancel on it. They put out with a sheet of stamps as a souvenir, a booklet, really nice booklet, to be honest. Each page has an animal, a picture of the stamp, and then a description of the animal and photographs. Like I said, it's a nice booklet. This particular one has, the cancel, an actual stamp canceled on the first day, matching with each of the animals. You have the dignitary folders. This one was to Mary Margaret Grant. I'm not sure exactly who she was. I Googled her at one point. I don't recall. These were given, to dignitaries with a sheet of stamps. So, as I mentioned, it was an international show. So we have other agencies issuing stamps. And so along with that, we can have, combinations and duals and all those sort of things. This one is a French Polynesia cover. It also has the Canadian stamp on it and a US stamp and all the different postmarks. This one has a Marcos silk cachet. You've got the, Micronesia, the Palau, and Marshall Islands. You have an autograph, US stamp. So there are all sorts of covers that could have different combinations of these. This is a Canadian Goose postcard with the Canadian cancel, Canadian Goose stamp on it with the US postmark. And again, we got the one on the bottom with all the different Canadian stamps, but then US stamps with different types of postmarks, a hand cancel, this one with the JUN variety, and the circular show cancel. So you can see already why this issue is kind of fun, because it not only can you collect different types of cancels and country combinations, and if you collect a particular animal, run into covers produced just for particular animals, but there's a lot out there. So again, a cover with on the Canadian post cover with US stamp as well. And then we have one below, which I found on eBay some years ago. Is pretty interesting. You've got the cottontail with the US show cancel, the round date cancel. Then you've got the Canadian waterfowl stamp and the US waterfowl stamp, all different cancel on their respective first days as well. You've got the ceremony invitation, the Canadian one for the ceremony, again with all the different types of US cancel varieties. So then, of course, we can't talk about first days without cachets. And I started getting these alphabetically. I ended up mixing them up. So you're going to see a bunch of different varieties of different things. Got the standard US cover with the AFDCS general purpose cachet. I'm sure everyone has seen the Chicagoland cover chapter. It's sort of a general purpose cachet. They have different color variety printings for different issues. George Alexander, and he just did, like, there's a myriad of different cachets. These are just examples. I have a bunch of them. I'm sure there are more out there. Most of them handmade, some, tinted or painted. We've got the art craft. I don't know any art craft collectors out there, but this to me is one of my favorite art craft cachets, and there are a couple reasons for it. One, though it's not the typical engraved one, it is getting into the printed. Each of them are differently designed. They are multicolor, originated from paintings. And the tidbit here is the cachet designer for all of these was Chuck Ripper's daughter, Elizabeth Kelly. So it was kind of a neat tie-in, but to the, hey, the stamps were designed by the dad. These cachets were designed by the daughter. All right, so we have some more art craft ones. An example of a combination cover. The common tie-in here is that we like eagles. So we have different eagle stamps on it. We have, if you're an American Eagle cover collector, hey, you could do the eagle stamps. Again, another example, I have a set of with the recreated block of 4s on the art craft. So again, the sheet, there's 50 different animals. So to make a set of 4, a set with a block of 4, you needed 4 sheets. So one would assume at least 4 sets were done of these. I have just one, so there are more out there for you. We have the aristocrat cachet. Now, as I mentioned, there aren't a whole lot of cachet makers that did the contemporaneous full sheet block of 4. One of those was Artmaster. You'll see that centered to the right upper corner, like most of us like the stamps placed in the upper right corner. The post office, the majority of the sheets that they service for collectors were centered in the middle of the cover. So it's difficult to find the blanks that are not that way. But here's an example. Artmaster did all theirs upper right corner. You'll also see that I didn't show an art craft with the full sheet. I've not seen any with the full sheet before. So Artmaster also did some covers using a number 10 envelope. These I've seen only with the bison stamp in combination with the bison stamped envelope. And this cachet shows the bison as part of it, but it was intended for use of, for this particular stamp use. I suspect that and I don't know for sure, that they use this for business mailings. We're sending out an advertisement or something of that nature, perhaps. Obviously, there were enough printed to make it worthwhile. But they're much scarcer to see the number 10s like that. They're standard cachets. A different cachet for the set of 10, using 5 stamps on each, versus a set of 50. The flags are placed at the bottom for the set of 10 service, and then at the upper for each individual of the set of 50. One can find, and I've seen, individual stamps cancel using this cachet. So even though they were intended for producing the set of 10, they were also used for the set of 50 as well. They're scarcer to find. We have Arto pages, which is there are a bunch of general purpose ones. They're not commonly found for this particular issue. And then this one was for the actual issue. I haven't seen many of these. I inquired about them and was told they weren't produced for this, but obviously they were. And again, this particular one is the mixed franking, has the Canadian stamps and the dual chipmunks on it. An example of the ASDA card cancel with the show cancel. And I'm going to be mixing these up. So there, some of these are going to have park cancels as well. There's an example of Dave Bennett's covers. This was his first cachet. The upper left one was used for the national parks cancel. This particular one has the Great Smoky Mountains Park on it. Lower right one is for the Ladybug stamp, but was later dual franked with the dual canceled with the Ladybug stamp from the Insect and Spiders issue. Here we have Adam Bird. And I believe that this was the lower right was June Bancroft or Jane Bancroft. Mr. Beery, who was in Texas. The Benign Breath. These were done both as singles and blocks. This is the Brookman. It was done by Farnham for Brookman. And it approximates the Farnham design, but is modified. This one, they're all have the printed address Cachets on it. Not 100% sure that's the cachet maker, but I've listed it that way. We have a CNC. This was done as a set of 3 painted. CE, I do not know who that is, but it has those initials on it. This one has CF and looks different than the CE. The coin 4 that was done as a set of 10. Seen the Colorado silk. I have a set of 50 with the Chuck Ripper address, and it was done both as the cover and then as their card. Then they were produced also for the sets of 10, both with the first day and then the park cancels. Fred Collins, and then we have Delgado on the bottom. Again, a Delgado, and this for the Bald Eagle. The DHC, which is Dave Collins, Diamond, and then Doback. This signed Donald. I don't know who Donald is. Then we have AA, Andy Doback. And in correspondence from him, his covers, a bunch of them got messed up by the post office. So there were not as many full sets as expected to be done. You know, DRC, and then Darby, and another DRC, and this one is dual canceled with a bighorn sheep. So we have the bighorn sheep from 87, the bighorn sheep from 82. So that's the common denominator there. And then the bottom was signed EWA. And I have those both with the show cancel and then the first day. We have Fleetwood. And so we have the cards, large size cards. We have the maxi cards they did. And then, I guess I left off. Oh, and then the printed cachets. Judith Font, and she did beautiful covers. Melissa Fox, and then Jerry Edelman Gam. Again with the hand cancels. Kitty Gallup, just beautiful sets of covers. And if you're not familiar with her covers, they were needlepoint crochet type silk and watercolor in the background, and they're all in different types of cards. Really beautiful set. Doris Gold, the upper left one was the one that she did in mass, and the lower right one is an example that done for herself. Gearlings covers. We have Gilcraft. Now the upper left one is pretty interesting. I mentioned earlier the show. First day is June 13th. The first day of sale at the parks is June 15th. Well, we have a June 14th cancel. So why do we have that? And it's most likely there with your mail-in service timing for for your postmarks. So I believe that's probably how that happened. Bev Gregory, a GLF, and then a Carol Gordon cover. There's a Mark Grabowski. The upper left is House Cachets, and then a Ham, Heartland, and HJS. And lo and behold, we have another full sheet cover. And this one was done by House of Farnham. The top one is Farnham Strathmore variety, and the lower right one is the regular Farnham. And then we have the Farnham for the set of 10. Then we have a couple of Ronald Huel, Intercontinental Philatelic, and then Karen's, Jersey, Caroline's, and then Key Cachet, Stan Kibbitt, and then KMC Venture. The KMC ones, there were some that were hand painted, hand tinted. Larry Gasson. The lower right one was the one that he did, a number of sets of. The upper left one as an example of a personal set. And similarly, these ones were done for sets of 10. Examples, Dave Lemon covers. And he was fond of the bald eagle stamp. McCulloch with the bullseye cancels. And an example of Don Mangus. And then we have Marge, and again, the ones that were just serviced, and then the examples of ones that were used for advertising purposes. And the advertising, I have the letters that go with them. I have a few of them. I don't have a full set, but they're, it's fun to see, the real philatelic use, the real postal use of these things. And that was done also as a set of 10. Mark Margolis, and one of the others that he did a single cover with the set of 50. George Mullen, I think I had that cover at the beginning. And Carol Murray, Maryland Entomological Society, if I can spit that one out. And they did, just the insects out of the paint of 50. Meisner, and an example from a different set of 50 of his. And of course, I have multiple examples of different types of maximum cards that were used. One has the Canadian postmark. And then, of course, a Fleetwood maximum card that has the dual cancels with the Smoky Bear and the Black Bear. Ralph Mayhew, D.B. Hansen, Mr. Nakano. We have the set that he did as a set of 50. An example on the upper left, and then there are myriads of ones that he did as a just varieties of covers. And the lower right one is a set done on the Bennett First Cachet. And thank you, Foster, for assisting with that one. But we have those punch outs and the stamps that he's known for with this. So it makes it for a very interesting set. And some other examples, another example. And it's really neat, tying all the different squirrel issues. I mean, with their respective first days. I mean, it's neat. This is a cover with a National Park Cancel rubber stamp cachet. I don't know who did that one. Another Nakano, and said he experimented. He had fun with them, and that's what we all should be doing. We have fun with what we do. So again, this has multiple different countries involved with it that all had issues at the show. So it made for a fun time. Nevpex. We have Nix and Nostalgia. Nova and O'Connell. OK cover and pack. Philatella are an example of a Parks hand colored. I don't know who did the upper left one. And then Paisley. And of course, we have PCS covers. You know, that with the gold stamp, an example of the Jerry Pelton cover. Kind of a neat cover done with the wildlife stamp. We did the Snow White, and then the Snow White stamp that came out later. Another example of the Jerry Pelton for the ladybug. A Philispec that was done by Bernie Kroll. Ponderosa Press. I suspect this wasn't for the particular issue. I think they was a recycle. Curtis Poorman, Robert Porter, and then Robert Priestis, Julian Pugh. Had singles and sets of 10, or I think it's sets of 13. Plakowski, then Rihanna Strada, different varieties done by Clarence Reed. Were done in various color cards, various different types of prints for the envelopes. Ricali, and they did not do the set of 50 that was done. There were the birds and some animals, but not all 50 were done. William Roy Rice, which were the block prints. Ron Myers, both the singles and then the set with the fewer covers. RSK, which was Ron Klein. This is a Schuster design. The sets of pages to instruct about the animals. RW, and then Scoggins, Kelly Scoggins. There was a hand-drawn set, 50. The Shenandoah National Park cachet with the Shenandoah cancel, for the park's cancel. Steve Catter, scan cachets. George Thomas, Alan Tossman, and Richard Trabza. Tudor House printed, and then George Van Natta. A couple Bond Hordes. I don't know how many of the set he did. Very, very beautiful covers that, from what I've seen, well, both birds and animals, so not just the birds. Jane Weddle, she did the cat cachets, and so she did the 2 cats on the sheet. T.M. Weddle, there are 3 cachets, different cachets done for that. There's the third one on the upper left. Ruth Westfall, from what I've seen of hers, she only did the butterflies. Yeah, I was prone to those. So you could have a lot of fun with this issue, just following up with what you like. The Washington Park Zoo, the upper left one is the first day. The one on the bottom right was used, to celebrate the park. It's not related to the issue. However, the stamp is from the set. Wildermuth cachets. Eric Wile did 1 cover for this issue. Timely, maybe not so good, but Wilma Peterson, and then A. Wood. Again, I don't know who A. Wood is, but that's how it is signed. These are thermographed. They have the initials WWW. Not quite sure who that is. This one on the bottom is Steve Yeager. That was an add-on cover. Then a few unknowns. We have the CAPEX 78 card. It's really not an unknown. Then we have a painted cover, not signed. Handmade cover. These aren't signed. One made from a map that shows where Toronto would be on a map. So that would be the relevance. A recreated cover out of a fold out of the sheet. This one on the bottom isn't signed. I'm not sure who it is. At one point, I think I knew who it was, but I lost who that might have been. Some number 10 covers that were created. Again, this one would be fairly sure it was an add-on, but I don't know who did it. It's not signed. The lower one is kind of neat. It shows the related 87 stamps with the 78 CAPEX stamps. So you've got the moose with the moose and the chipmunk with the chipmunk and the Fox with the Fox. So if we go back to the beginning, those animals that were nixed from the set, others had been on other stamps before, but I guess there must have been a bright line of some kind, how many times you could appear before they wanted to yank you and substitute a different animal. Again, these are ones I don't know who did them. This one may be a 1 of 1. That is, I have a set of 50. Yeah, that's part of a set. These are handmade. And this is a handmade set. I have 50 that has all the different part cancels. So there, of course, there are covers I don't have. I don't have the SOS, Sheldon Schwartz. He did a full sheet cover. I don't have an example of that one. So if one of you has that and would like to part with it, let me know. I don't have the Western Cachet or a TP Cachet, and I'm looking for those. Some add-on covers. There are lots of add-ons with these. We have the Barneys, Bob Emmerich. This one has the bear combination with the duel with the Smokey the Bear and the 2 bear stamps as part of the sheet. Kate Hayden, I have a set of 50 on these sort of pinkish envelopes. Wile did a set of 50 with the national park cancels, and then also with, of course, with the first days. Those are noted as add-ons. Well, of course, we saw maybe 4 full sheets that I know of that were done contemporaneously as done. So that being the case, it provided the opportunity to secure add-on covers, for the sheet. And I had a lot of fun with this. I have a bunch of these. So here's an example of Archana Zadorian. Just beautiful work that she did. And these are all notated as add-ons. It does give you an opportunity, with older cachet makers to get examples of their work and their unique type stuff. This one is Art Cobra. I pictured it this way. My wife told me to turn it the other way around, but the animals are facing the opposite direction. But that's how he did it. And typically, when I have an add-on done, I just tell them, hey, do whatever you want with it. If you're happy with it, I'm going to be happy with it. This one was done by Beth Neuenhouse. There's Bob Emmerich. That one is one of his painted examples. Then he did the EM sketches also, or he does the EM sketches, which are the kind of charcoal drawn. This is a Dave Bennett add-on. At this point, it was for the 20th anniversary of his first cachet. Don Mangus. As I mentioned before, the sheets that are centered are the most frequently found. I mean, I've got a stack of the blanks of those, but it makes for difficult cachet add-ons. So those that were done, oftentimes they were, the cachet maker went into the salvage of the stamp sheet. And so like Don painted over that animals into it. So this one included all 50 animals. So it's quite the challenge. Doris Gold, Elizabeth Zung. So Judith Faw. This one tickles me particularly because being custom made, she has my name and her name on it. The animals on the left, the first initial of the name of each of the animals, the ERICWILE, spell my name. And then she has the JFOGT coming across the bottom. Very, very creative. Yeah, neat cover. Ken Cribbs, Kendall Bevel, Linda Geerlings did that one. So these are all add-ons, but I accept them as add-ons. I know people have different thoughts about that. Knowing what was done contemporaneous in this size, that they're very obviously add-ons and notated as such. Melissa Fox, Nerley can do. I may have mispronounced his last name. Curtis Porman, Russ Hamilton, Steve Yeager, Camille Rendell. And those are just some examples of those. So of course, it's the issue again. You can have fun with it any which way you want. There's some examples of duels with other show cancels. So we've got the Ameripex show, station cancel for the Ameripex on the first day. So the thought is we have different expositions. Let's tie those in. So I call this reuse and recycle. So of course, like any other issue, cachets that are not serviced for prior issues could be used for other issues. The other top example is a set of 50 that I service for the Greetings from America stamp, each with a wildlife stamp from this set, with the wildlife. And I did this with a number of different cachet makers where I had blank sets of 50. The bottom one was one that Dave Bennett did for the 1992 hummingbird stamp using the 1987 hummingbird cachet, but then modifying it. Special 5th anniversary recycled cachet tune. So I used that blank and then modified it for the hummingbird stamp. And again, as I said earlier, here's a set of 50 of the Bennett first, but used for the Greetings of America issue as combinations. And then, of course, collectors, we have all these 50 different animals, and they, went hog wild on different related animal cancels. So I've got a gazillion of these too. So we've got Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania, with the box turtle stamp. People matched them up all throughout the country. Not a first day, but still kind of a cool thing. So I think that's pretty much where I am. I'm happy to answer questions.